Saudi, I mean, we won't go into too much detail.
Yeah.
We've got an
we
entire
spoke about
on
this way too much.
But there's like 80 incidents, 2 red flags early on. Interestingly, actually, going back, Yuki and Leclerc, Yuki did this on, I think it was Vettel, and Leclerc did this on Sainz. They did the Verstappen, so they outbrake themselves and then defend the position and then come back across the curb. The fact Leclerc did this on Sainz then said he needs to give the position back.
He gave the position.
I think he did, but it wasn't looked into at all, purely because they're teammates and no one really cares. And then I think Yuki just crashed afterwards or something, so like no one really needed to look into that. But you could see signs of them copying the Verstappen move, which will be interesting if all the drivers have fast enough cars for the next time. Either way, Lewis wins, Verstappen gets penalties, blah, blah, blah. But his penalties are applied after the race and he keeps P2.
Yeah. I think the one thing you say, like, George complained about the track being dangerous. The track was only verified the day before...
Before practice, Thursday.
Before practice. So, I'd say the racetrack has a lot of potential. It's an incredible racetrack. Like, high speed, tight. It's the type of racetrack that you just love watching. The only issue is actually safety.
Yeah.
In terms of because the track wasn't actually verified like 2 or 3 months before, they couldn't fix the issues with the track. So it was kind of like, let's go out and see what the issues are.
Yeah.
And obviously with Michael Massey directing the race terribly, it just turned out like he kept them out for like 4 laps. Like this is the reason Lewis pitted, Valtteri pitted, and then they came out and then he kept them for 4 laps. After 4 laps, you're like, okay, the race is going to keep going after this. And then he calls out, why are you calling a red flag 4 laps after a safety car? Like, a safety car has been out for 4 laps, then you call a red flag. That makes no sense. This is when you know, like, Michael Massey has no glories. He should have, the moment the incident happens in qualifying, the moment this incident happened or practice, Leclerc crashed, same corner, everything, red flag straight away. So why are you not red flagging red flag the race, because it's in such a crucial position. You need to move everything out of the way. It needs to be red flag. Why are you yellow flagging? You yellow flag it for 4 laps. If it's 4 laps in, then just wait 4 more laps.
Yeah.
Why are you red flagging it?
It's so weird,
like it just makes no sense. This is why Lewis was actually very annoyed, because we've already done 4 laps. In the other one in Imola, they red flagged it straight away. So no one pitted and then came out, and then they were stuck at the back.
Yeah, this time they waited and then made the decision. And it's like, cool, wait and make the decision, but the fact this incident happened so many times throughout the weekend. And
even in Formula 2 as well, so they had reference of like how bad the crashes were.
Every time, but this was the only time someone crashed in that corner and it wasn't an instant red flag, so...
But I was right, I said that Lewis is going to win Saudi and they're going to go into the end. I called it, I was like, Lewis is going to win and they're going to go into Abu Dhabi. Level on points, and that's what I wanted, and everyone else was like, no, and then after watching Abu Dhabi, they were like, you were right. They had to go in on
titanium front wing, sets fastest laps with half a front wing and all of this solid stuff. But it was mainly Saudi was just like drive to survive. It just was. The whole thing was drama, nothing about on-track action. The on-track action was awful when it happened. Pretty boring and stuff. It was
brake testing.
It's just so much drama. All the stuff happened off track, and Verstappen himself complains about this a lot. He's like, "Oh, we just talk too much about F1. We don't actually talk about the racing anymore," which is partly his fault, but mainly the FIA. To be fair,
I think if the FIA were a lot more strict, like they're a lot stricter, it wouldn't be like this. But they're too busy trying to dramatize F1. That's the thing. Like I told you, like my friends who've never watched F1 came into F1, watched it. They found F1 to be way more exciting than football, and this we're talking beginning of the season.
Yeah.
And you didn't need to do anything. You don't need to add anything to make the sport exciting. The sport is exciting.
Yeah.
What you're doing is you're actually getting people who love the sport, people who've been here for a long... Even, like, when you get Harry Kane and Gary Lineker commenting on, like, what just happened, you know that something's gone wrong, because people who literally have no clue about Formula 1 are like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah,
just
It's
needs to be made
disgusting.
simpler. They
Honestly,
need to
it's
listen to the
disgusting.
fans. We had this chat like
It's
before. Like,
disgusting.
we made a clip of it. Like they need to listen to the fans because the fans are watching for the racing and for the engineering.
Yeah,
for
we're
the
not
innovation.
watching for like you to like dramatize it and make it into something.
It doesn't need to be a film, yeah. We
Exactly.
don't need a love interest to come in out of nowhere and then have like, I don't know, the girlfriends come up. We don't need grid girls back. Like that's not what we need. Like it's just about the racing realistically.
Yeah, I don't
It's
get it.
annoying.
Anyways, Abu Dhabi was controversial.
It definitely was. So F1 get exactly what they want now. They're equal on points going into the
I called
the
it.
last race. And then Abu Dhabi happens, obviously. Actually, there's an interesting clip that surfaced. It was, where is it? So,
Oh, the
people
screen's
found
gone.
this.
Screen's gone.
No. Oh well.
We'll just finish it like this now.
We might as well. So, interestingly, so the amount of hype that this got, so the talking points were, is Max Verstappen going to crash into Lewis?
I
Uh,
assumed he would, to be honest.
I assume given the
they
opportunity.
they get Sergio Perez to do it.
Yeah.
Because then they can penalize the team, they can't penalize the driver. Because it's not Max's fault, it's the team's fault. You can clearly say it's not my fault.
I would have thought Max would have done exactly what he'd been doing all season, and then, Lewis is completely, so cautious to try and make sure there isn't anything. But so they bring back a video. So there's videos on the F1 channel of the drivers reacting to certain incidents in history, and they bring up the Prost Senna crash, and he turns to Gasly, who was his teammate at the time, and they're like, okay, so what's wrong with this, or something like that. And he says, I don't see anything wrong with that. And this clip circulates on Twitter. Everyone's having a field day with this one. They're like, oh, you see that? Max said there's nothing wrong with this crash, so he would just wipe Lewis out into turn one. They get through turn one fine, Lewis overtakes him, and then we all know
Max
what
had a
happens.
terrible start.
Yeah, awful start. He has 2 pit stops. Perez holds up Lewis for him. All of this stuff happens, and then we all know what happens on the last lap. So that sums up the season, really.
It was
What did you